Welcome back to the Wolf of Queen Street podcast series. Welcome back to the video or the audio series. But before we get started today, I just want to do a shout out to my sponsors. Diamond Property Group assists novice and experienced investors secure brand new investment properties in Auckland and Hamilton. Getting financially ahead is not the responsibility of the bank or of the government, and they're not going to help you pay off your mortgage quicker. This is why Diamond Property Group have built a secure, streamlined, effective process to help current or future investors knowing what to do and how to overcome some of these challenges. And you can find them at diamondpropertygroup.co.nz. That is diamondpropertygroup.co.nz. But today I am super pumped to have Dave Letele on the show, the founder of the BBM Motivation Program, a former boxer that I had gone seen many a times before. Don't know if Dave ever remembers. I still got a photo on my cell phone, one of my favorites, of the fight at the Trust Arena, going to smash people like he used to do. And I had a photo because I'm a boxing nut and I wanted to have a photo with this up and coming star. But there's more to the story and there's more behind of what Dave overcame to get to that point when I'd actually met him, ran into him, and to where he is today. So Dave, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, bro.
So we're just chatting a little bit off air, and Dave, I've known of Dave for a couple of years. I've been nagging him for a couple of years. Not that he hasn't been paying me attention. He's just become sort of this amazing individual that's doing things and inspiring so many thousands and thousands of people across the New Zealand space because of his story and what he's overcome, and actually shown if you follow certain processes and no excuses, as he says, everything works. So Dave, I'd love for you, for our audience, just to tell us your story of where you came from, your youth growing up and your dad and that impact to where it led to you sort of in the darkest moments that you find yourself in.
Look, my life's been a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. My father was the president of the Auckland chapter of the Mongol Mob, which is quite a big gang over here. So I was raised in, I saw stuff as a kid that I just thought was normal. Mm-hmm. But I like to say I never used it as an excuse. My father was a bank robber, and later on he was a drug grower and drug dealer. So, I just saw a whole bunch of things that, mm-hmm. Most kids wouldn't. So I thought a lot of these things were normal. My first memory of the police was them raiding my house and taking all of our Christmas presents. My uncle, who was also a bank robber, he would, we'd always look forward to his Christmas gifts, and, he used to give us bags of coins to go play spacey games with, and, they still had the bank name on the bag. So, so that's where I came from. Most of my life I visited prisons, and, so I hated the police for a very long time, and I hated prison guards for a good large portion of my life. It wasn't until later on, as I get into the work that I'm doing now, that I understand that the police and prison guards are just doing their job, mm-hmm. and that they're also, helping the community. So now I actually work with the police, but the life's been a roller coaster. But everything I went through, it was all for a reason for me, because it's enabled me to be able to relate to so many different walks of life, whether it's people down at the bottom, or even people that had great success and professionally and have all the material things, but don't have happiness. So I can work with so many different people, and it's because I've had nothing and I've had it all and then lost it again. So mm-hmm. that's pretty much it in a nutshell, bro. In between, I played rugby league all around the world and owned some businesses, and it's been an up and down life, and hopefully not too many more downs.
Yeah, it's crazy. So Dave, take me through the moment. Like one thing is you got brought up in this moment in your life and the family and everything. I was not realizing that this is actually different to what most kids and teenagers and so forth experience. Getting a bit of realization, you followed the rugby league, try to go in the professional way, you said, and then what happened is your life continued, and you said, I remember there was one of the discussions, the speeches you've done the last few years, said you forgot to start paying attention to yourself, and things without you realizing got out of control, and your weight started ballooning without realizing, and you started picking up more weight. And there was sort of a moment when you realized at your peak weight of, hey, this can't be me. this can't be, you know, where I end or where the life stops for me. There must be more.
Yeah, look, there was a couple of times in my life where I've gone through that moment of thinking, man, surely my life's meant for more than this.
Yeah.
I had no idea what it was meant for, but I knew it wasn't what I was doing. There was a couple of times. The first time when I was 21, and my father got caught for cultivating marijuana, and that was back in, I think, in 2000. And we had, you know, he had a massive warehouse filled with hydroponics. And when I was 5, when he was caught for bank robbing, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. But at 21, I fully understood the repercussions of my father's actions on me, my 2 sisters, and my mum. So it was the first time I went right off the rails, because I thought I had to be this character. In boxing, I played a character, and this was the first time in real life I played a character, because I wasn't a bad guy. I wasn't a gangster at all. I was going to uni, and I was also working, trying to be better. And not go down that path. But when my dad left that time, I thought to myself, geez, I was worried for my mum, and I was worried for my 2 sisters. So I thought, you know, in that life, which not many people talk about, you know, it's too often glamorized, but in that life when the men are all gone, you know, your family's open. And my other uncle was already serving 15 years in Perimeter. So now my dad's gone, I'm the only man left. So I decided I quit uni, I quit my job. And I ended up living in a drug house, just doing really outlandish things to try and build up a reputation as quick as I could, so that no one would come near my mum. And look, a whole bunch of things happened. And one night I was really drunk and angry, and you know, I was just really hated my life, and I was very angry with my father. So I came home one night and I grabbed out a steak knife, and I put it into my chest. And when I got out of hospital for that is when I had the first time in my life where I thought, geez, surely I'm meant for more. I know I'm not, you know, I know I'm destined for something more than this. So, you know, I got up and I worked, and that's really been the whole really essence of my journey, really, is I was always being a hard worker. Yep. So I worked my ass off. And from that doorstep, I ended up playing rugby league for a few different teams, you know, in Australia. Also, Singapore played a bit of rugby, played some league in France, and ended up owning some businesses. And so when I got into the business and the corporate side, is when I started to let my health go. Like a lot of corporates, you know, when you're so focused on accumulating wealth and trying to, you know.
Sorry to interrupt the current show, but just to let you know, if you're enjoying what you've seen, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. So next time another episode comes out, you'll be able to see it first. Back to the show.
Be better and provide more for your family. You tend to forget that all your family really need is you and your health. You know, you forget that, and you put your health on the back burner, and you don't worry about what you're eating and how much exercise you're doing. You just work. And that's all I was doing. And I started piling on the weight, and I was eating lots of rubbish and drinking lots of energy drinks and lots of coffee. And my health just got out of control. I stopped looking in the mirror. I stopped, you know, worrying about what I was wearing. I just didn't have much self-esteem. And, you know, and my business was going well, but then, you know, I made a few bad decisions. And as we all know in business, you're only a few bad decisions away from losing everything. So, and that's what ended up happening. And, you know, then my health really went out the door. And, you know, back in 2014, I ended up losing it all. But the most important thing I lost was my family. You know, I wasn't a good partner. I wasn't a good father because I was never there. And I got involved in a lot of things that, you know, I'm not going to talk about on camera. But I got involved in some stuff that I saw as a kid. And that's why I always say to parents, you know, we need to be so careful what our kids see, because we see everything. You know, although I didn't want to be like my parents and my uncle, I saw it. I saw what they did when they needed money, when times were tough, and when they were desperate. So I went through the same thing, and I understood where my dad would always say to me, look, I did this for you. I did this for your sisters.
Yeah.
Which is it's all full of crap, because all it did was take him away, and all it did was take my uncle away from his kids. You know, we had a whole warehouse. And I always say this because this crime, this gangster life, so glamorized, you know, and everyone sees the nice cars and the bikes, but they don't see the other side.
Yeah.
In that warehouse that we had all these cars, all the Americans, all the European cars. My cousin hung herself in that same warehouse. So, you know, what's the point of all these material things? They don't mean anything. But I had to learn that the hard way, and, you know, by losing my family and having to work to get them back. You know, so I came back here in 2014 with not 1 cent in my pocket, a broken man, physically and more mentally and emotionally broken. And just really, I wound up on a single bed at my sister's house I couldn't fit on. And I just said, man, you know, I was my own worst critic. Like Mike King always says, we're our own worst critic. And I just was saying to myself, how did I manage to F things up so badly, you idiots? You know, so, but I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I always say, don't dwell at the bottom. You know, get up and start, you know, and that's what I did.
You know, Dave, it is sometimes such a hard story and sin for people's lives that go through to get to that moment. Something David said, and I don't know if it's something he shares too much, but it's part of his story, is that at that moment he ballooned up. It was 210 kgs, I think it was, Dave, at his heaviest at that moment. You know, that's not a couple of kgs overweight like I am. That's you know, a big chunk of health and risk to everything else. But it's true at those moments where, unfortunately, if you're not strong enough, you don't know where to go from it. And luckily, Dave is one of those individuals that has had the strength to take the next step forward and everything else, that'll be able to keep his life ongoing. But we see in the society that we live in today, there's a lot of people that don't have that. You know, and Dave's journey is taking him from that. And he obviously, Dave, got into boxing as a sort of an exercise to lose some of that weight, and then went on to do actually, 3 to 4 years of actually very successful boxing in the ring, get in there. And you speak about it a few times about saying you put on this whole persona with boxing. Anyone that follows the MMA or boxing world, you've got to have this whole persona that Dave had put on there publicly, because fundamentally it has to sell tickets, right? Dave was the king of this. And I knew a few people, they were like, hey, I'm not a big fan of Dave because of this attitude and everything else. But what I look at right now is because of that journey of losing all the weight, getting in the ring, having the persona, it has allowed him to become an individual that everyone knows who he is. And then when you founded and started the BBM motivation and the programs and everyone else, people slowly started to see, hold on, it's not, that was a persona you put on it, because fundamentally your heart is about caring and improving the lives of people around that are struggling to the journey that you went through.
Yeah, man. Look, the whole boxing thing it was crazy, man. And look, it just started. I grew up with Dave Higgins. He's the owns Duco Events. He was Joseph Parker's manager. I grew up with him and his brother, and we're still best friends to this day. When he saw me in the shape I was in, he had no idea what we were gonna do, and but he helped me to move back. He actually had to pay for me business class to come back to New Zealand, because I couldn't fit in economy comfortably. And so, the whole boxing thing started was he was very worried about my mental health and about what I was going to do to my life. So he said to me, look, do you want to come to Germany to watch Joe Parker fight? I said, of course, I'd love to come. So I started walking and watching what I ate and just doing basic stuff, and got over there. And the head of German boxing, it was so, they'd never seen such a large tattooed islander before with tattoos and shaved head. They wanted to see what I weighed. So they dragged me up to the front like an elephant by the trunk. And I was excited too, because I didn't know if I'd lost any weight.
Yeah. Because,
every time all the scales back home always said error. So I could never really tell. I knew my clothes were fitting so looser, so I knew I'd lost something. But I jumped on the scale and I was 178 kilos. So while the audience was still shocked at how fat I was happy, because I just realized I'd lost all this weight. So I was over the moon. I was going, yeah, I'm the man. I'll take on anyone. And that's where, and everyone was laughing at me. And that's where Dave had the idea. I was going, man, that's what you're going to do. We're going to roll you out before Joe Parker fights back in New Zealand, and you're going to be our next circus act. We're going to call you the Brown Butterbean, because there was a famous white boxer in America called Butterbean, big fat white guy. I was a big fat brown guy, so they wanted to call me the Black Butterbean. But Dave said it's not PC, so we wouldn't get away with it. We probably wouldn't get away with calling me brown butterbean now, if we didn't start it way back then. But that's what we did, brown butterbean, and the whole gimmick was that I would do whatever I want. I'd only talk about myself. So the stereotypical, most arrogant boxer you'd ever find on YouTube, I had to be that person, or like a bad guy, like a wrestling character, like Ric Flair type of thing, or The Rock, when he was a heel. So I modeled myself on those guys, just talking at the Butterbean's hungry, Butterbean's gonna train. Ain't no way you can beat the Butterbean. And people couldn't handle it, So the first weigh-in I went on at Joe's, he was fighting Minto, and I called out South Auckland. I jump on the scale, it says error again. Everyone's laughing at me, and I just said, there is no one in New Zealand, let alone South Auckland, that can beat the mighty brown butterbean. So I'm calling you out. If you think you can beat the butterbean, come at me, bro. That was my thing. And people went nuts. They couldn't handle us. And who the hell's this fat bastard saying he's the toughest man in New Zealand? And so I got unbelievable hate. They put it on Crowd Goes Wild. They put it in the paper. And the amount of hate I got was just next level. Keep in mind, I was very depressed. Deep down, I was putting out this character and playing this role, but I was very, very depressed. Didn't have my kids. I really hated my life. I was now staying in a community home, and I was living on a mattress on the floor. Staying with convicted rapists and robbers and stealers, and just all types of people just out of prison trying to get their own lives back together. Here I was, and then I get all this hate. But again, I always would say to people, I never used it as an excuse to stop. I used it as fuel to keep me going. But I had to turn it around. After a while, people sort of said, man, I'm sure there's more to this guy, as they started seeing different stories. And then, after a while, I could no longer play a bad guy. I just started being myself. And along that way, I formed BBM. The whole boxing thing. It served its purpose, that's for sure. But I was hated. People hated my guts. So to be able to turn it around has been pretty cool.
Look here, it was a show that Duco put on and everything else, and I went in that, and I can't imagine, like you said, the hate that went through and everything you got from it. It served the purpose, but obviously to yourself would have been so hard and impacting. But I look at things and say, that's part of the journey to get where you are today. Not that I wanted you to have an easier life, but I feel that, Dave Letele that stands today with the BBM program and the thousands of lives you impact and are making, that can only have happened through the journey that you have followed. Dave might not agree with me, but I believe a few things that we've got to sometimes go through fire to understand and see how strong we are on the other side. And, Dave, 3-4 years ago, Logan Paul, one of the biggest YouTubers and fighters that has been on, I don't want to call him a fighter, he's a schmuck, but anyway, was the most hated man in the world because he went and did a video about the suicide village in Japan. And now he's one of the biggest names and everyone loves him around the world. And he's just done, a $20 million fight with Floyd Mayweather. So sometimes there's a moment people don't see or don't agree. And then a while later, they see what is actually happening there. And with Dave, purely, like I said, I've seen him since that day one. I loved you when you were doing that, not because of the persona. I loved what he was doing about losing the weight through this whole journey of the boxing. What you did, and a lot of people forgot about, was he was at over 200 kgs, came down to 160, came down to, I think it was a 140, and kept losing weight every time he climbed the ring and showed that and overcame those challenges. And then, where he's today and helping other people as well. So it's a hard one that you've gone through, but it's hardened you to help others.
Yeah, it's very simple. If I didn't fail in my life, there'd be no BBM. It's literally impacting tens of thousands of people. So, yep, through the struggle, greatness comes. So long as you get up.
So take us through BBM. Obviously, it's an organization you started. What is the fundamentals behind it? What are you trying to achieve, and everyone else in that program across BBM?
So BBM just started, out of the boxing, and people were messaging me. So amongst all the hate I was getting, after I was losing weight, because it was played out on TV, lots of people were starting to message, man, how am I doing this? What's the secret behind what you're doing? Everyone thinks it's a secret and thinks I was taking some pill and, and thinking it was easy. But So I started a group on Facebook. It just started as a private Facebook group, which is still private, called Butterbean Motivational, BBM. And that was basically to share my journey, to share the struggle. And it started off, I guess, as more of a blog for myself. It was only me in it at the beginning. So I started sending people to it and being myself in the group. And it's grown from that now to just over 15,000 members in this private group. But it's mainly because I understood that, look, I was very lucky to be surrounded by some positive people in my life. And I understood that not everyone was so blessed to be surrounded by positivity. So that's why I started the groups, so people can be just constantly surrounded by positivity. And it's just morphed into boot camps, physical boot camps. So the boot camp started by me helping my father-in-law's friend. So there was only a handful of us there. And I thought to myself, geez, I wonder if anyone else wants to come in our group. So I posted it up. We started in South Auckland in a driveway in Papatoe. I said, oh, geez, I wonder if anyone else wants to come. And now it's morphed into, we have over 3,000 members. We just opened our West Auckland hub. So we were in different schools and stuff. Now we own our own headquarters out west. Also out south, we opened a new community kitchen. And what it's about really is we've created like a village or a marae, the way that our society used to be, where, that old saying, it takes a village to raise a baby. Everyone's in it together. We're all working together as one. But that's gone these days because everyone's so busy grinding and trying to provide and everyone's so busy. But we're bringing it back. That's what we do. And it just gives people something to belong to. We're talking about gangs, and I was talking on the talk back last week about the act, what they're trying to bring out with monitoring gang members' spending. What we need to do is, find out why it's so attractive for youth to join gangs in the first place. And one of the reasons is they want to belong. So that's why we're creating, what we have created in BBM, something positive that people of all walks and of life, shapes and sizes to belong to.
It's so true. And it's amazing to see what you guys are achieving. Like you said, all walks of life, no matter where you're on in the BBM program. Dave's got across his social media channels, there's always videos and photos. And whether it'll be someone that had an issue like Dave might have had, someone that's let their life go and they've gotten quite large in size and they need help on understanding, hey, when I'm this, when I'm over 150 kgs or 160 or 100, how do I do this? Because Dave's been through, so it can help that. Or as much as Dave says, you've got a food kitchen at the moment, there's people that's coming out of the community and saying, we need help, not from the health point of view, but I'm unable to put food on the table for my family, I'm unable to support and everything else. And that's where the BBM program has just been amazing by doing that. And I totally agree, Dave, we've lost the tribe, we've lost the community, and we've lost that moment of, we all want to stand there and be famous and be viral and be so cool out there. But fundamentally, by all of us doing that, we're all standing alone. And then we look back and go, oh, I wonder, where did everyone go? Because on my path of getting to where I want to, I pissed too many people off. I left everyone behind in some certain paths. And unfortunately, in other certain paths, we've lost family or no that support because the previous culture and the previous time period went into the gangs and everything else, and people back into prison. So we need to have that support across the New Zealand space, and as well as the struggling with mental health issues we have as well. And I know that's something big that you push, Dave, is mental health and supporting people through the life challenges we go through at the moment.
Yeah, mental health is big with us. We just use exercise as our vehicle, to address mental health. Exercise saved my life because every time I exercised, I wasn't worried about how shit my life was, and wanting to end it. So it was in between exercise. I always remember driving, I'd walk around One Tree Hill, and I was staying in Clendon. So I'm going down the motorway, the Mangere motorway. And I always remember the power poles, because I look at them thinking, man, I should just drive into one of these, so to save myself from that, I would just train all the time. I'd go for walks and just keep myself busy. And after I exercised, I always felt better. Those natural endorphins running around my body. So, it's such a great form of therapy and release. And, we get people around others, around other people on that same path. It's just, yeah, the culture and the vibe that we have built at BBM is next level, you know.
Yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan and supporter of the community and what Dave's done. That's why I've always been paying attention, and I've always reached out to him saying it's an amazing job what they've done, what they've overcome. And I'm a big pusher of more mental health awareness, and we should be doing more at the moment. And there's some big leaders. I don't know. There's some big people in our community. I don't want to say leaders because unfortunately some of our leaders are doing a shit job about it. I won't mention, but there are big people in our community that are pushing the right thing around mental health in New Zealand, and we need more of it. We need more people that are willing to help out and go out to the people that don't realize they need the help. Phoning a friend, seeing how someone's doing, just reaching out, and then making sure that we have everything we need, and especially like Dave and the BBM program is doing out there at the moment. So, Dave, is there, you've obviously opened up the West Hub, you've got the South Hub, you've got the kitchen. What's the next thing for BBM? Is it stabilizing that, or is there something big in the pipelines, or is it just building up the tribe? What's the next step for BBM?
Oh man, it's I guess trying to stabilize what we've got. Like, man, we're so busy at the moment. But there's also a great need. So I guess it's just stabilizing our West Auckland, which literally just opened the kitchen as well. And then I'd look to hopefully have a kitchen out west one day.
Yep.
And then also we're running, some stuff with the Ministry of Social Development. So we're starting to get some traction with the government now. MSD, we're on board with them, and they've been really good supporters of us over the last year.
Yeah.
And also the Ministry of Health. So look, we're working on something big. I'm hoping to announce that very soon. Touch wood. It happens. So we just got to keep doing the work, and you can't deny impact.
Yep.
So we make sure we keep continuing to have the impact on people's lives, the positive impact. Make sure we're gathering all the data and all the stories, because it's all evidence. And you've got to have lots of evidence when you're going, to any large organization like the government, to work alongside them. And the thing with me is I want to work with them. I don't want to be, under their thumb.
Yep.
And because what we do works, it's different. But I do believe there's a appetite for change there. And I'm really positive about what could happen within the next few weeks. So watch the space on that one.
That's awesome to hear, Dave. I mean, now as we're coming up to the last few pieces here and hearing everything about your story and everything else, as I always say, I don't want to go into too much and taking all the stories and all the pieces, because I want people that's listening or watching to go out and find BBM and find Dave himself, to learn more and to learn to see all the success for stories and what people are achieving out there as well. So, Dave, if people want to reach you or find you, where can they find more about yourself and BBM?
Just check out my website, which is thebbmprogram.com. Join our Facebook group, BBM Motivation, or just check me out on Instagram. I'm sure you'll chuck up some links there somewhere.
No, it's awesome. I must say, I see the BBM branding. So my family always does the running events, so big running events around Auckland area. So we've belonged to a few series we have for years and years. And I must say, there's a few times we go there and there's always a BBM tribe. So sort of 5 or 10 members, all with their T-shirts and everything else. And it's really cool, but it's also, to me, it's very amazing to see that, because I know your story and I know where it's gone to. So I know those people there that are standing there and are making a change. So they're wearing the brand clothing because they're going to do a 5K or 10K or 20K run. And a lot of times, they are all there to support one person do their first run or their first distances. And like I said, that's why I know it's amazing, because I know the story and I know how struggle it is for some of those people to be there. But there's always a smile on every one of those people's faces. There's always a hug and support and everything else. And that just shows, Dave, truly what you have implemented in BBM. When anyone that I've ever met in public that has your brand on their chest is only inspirational, is only full integrity, and is only full love for everyone around there. And that's why, BBM is just amazing.
Yeah, it's so true. It still blows me away when I think about it. But when I see a BBM top, I go, man, that's so cool. You know,
Mm.
just what started off as a gimmick.
Yeah.
It's now look at what it is. And it's something that I'm so big on in terms of, you know, the culture we have about encouraging each other. You know, that's taught, you know, at BBM. You know, we have to encourage when new people come. It's something we always instill, you know, we always partner up with people and you have to encourage. And our team leaders are taught it. And if you're a team leader and you don't encourage it, it's, you know, you'll get a good growling, you know. most of the, look, it's everyone is fully supportive. And so if someone finishes, you know, because we have people that are really fit, people just starting, people in the middle. So if a really fit person finishes first, they always go right to the back.
Yep.
Right to the very last person still going, and they stick with that person. And that's something really special about BBM, you know.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I've seen it so many times, and it's amazing. You know, Dave, thanks again so much for this opportunity to come in on my show. I know exceptionally busy you are, and your schedule and everything else. And again, it's such an amazing opportunity to talk to you, hear about your story, and to share it to everyone else that's out there. To all the listeners and viewers, you've heard where you can find BBM. As always, I'll have the details and the links as well. But please reach out to myself or to Dave in any of those situations if you need help, if you need support, if you don't know the next step that you want to take. Please reach out. We will help as much as we can. Listen, we can answer or point you in the right direction. There's so many people that out there that are willing to support each other. You just take that first step and just ask for it, and we'll be there. But again, Dave, thank you so much for coming onto the show, mate.
No worries. Thank you very much. No excuses.
And to everyone else, as always, out there, stay beautiful, stay powerful. Until next time, see ya.